Welcome to the latest episode of the Seafood News Weekly Roundup show, brought to you by Urner Barry's Seafood Import Workshop. I'm your host and SeafoodNews.com editor, Michael Ramsing, and we are back from the National Fisheries Institute Seafood Market Conference in San Francisco. It was an excellent show despite the rainy weather. A lot of market industry information was presented, and you should stay tuned to the program for a special segment we have from our friends at the NFI. As for today's show, we want to cover a few market and production stories from the past 2 weeks. So we start today's headline news with the latest domestic shrimp landings out of the Gulf of Mexico for the month of December. According to the monthly data, the Gulf harvest showed another decline in landings compared to historical averages. The Gulf produced about 5.8 million pounds of shrimp in December. This is about 3.5 million pounds short of last December's catch and a full 25% below the 5-year average landing for the fishery in the month of December. The story is the same for the Gulf's full-year harvest. 93.8 million pounds of shrimp were landed, a figure that is over 27% below the average landings compared to the prior 16 years. This shortage of domestic wild-caught shrimp out of the Gulf has pinched inventories and pushed up prices in wholesale markets since the summer, according to Urner Barry. In a related column, SeafoodNews.com explains how the increased value of the Gulf shrimp over the last decade should support the discontinuation of anti-dumping duties on imported shrimp from foreign suppliers in India, Thailand, Vietnam, and China. In some other market news, prices for imported frozen salmon from Chile are now at all-time record levels in January, according to Urner Barry. Frozen prices are over $1 higher from the previous record high price in this market that was set in 2014. The current spread between frozen and fresh salmon imports from Chile is the highest it's been since 2014. It's just the second time in the last 10 years that such a price spread between the frozen and fresh markets has been recorded at these levels. What's driving the frozen market higher is limited farm production from both Chilean and European suppliers. Remember, fresh salmon demand in global markets is very high right now and at premium price points. This has enticed farm salmon producers in Chile to pump their production into the fresh sector, which has limited frozen salmon production. This has happened at the same time that Alaska's pink salmon run was a major bust. This forced buyers to switch to Chilean salmon to fill their need for frozen product. And that's just a couple of the major seafood market stories from SeafoodNews.com. Remember, subscribers of Urner Barry's Comtel get not just premium seafood news content, they also get access to shrimp, salmon, and other seafood market quotations and expert analysis. As for our top story of the day, we head to Alaska, where the state's Bering Sea crabbers received more bad news when the Board of Fisheries decided to close the Bairdi crab fishery for the 2017 season. This fishery produced 20 million pounds last year, but was closed for this season since the harvest allocation is based on a result of summer surveys. And for tanners, the numbers are driven by the abundance of female crab. Those numbers were not sufficient enough to open even a reduced fishery. But the board's decision was based on out-of-date science, since there is ample evidence that suggests the female biomass can support at least a reduced fishery. The problem is Alaska lacks the budget to change the survey methodology that could accommodate shifts in female crab populations based on changes to water temperatures and other factors. Fishery officials also punted on a well-researched plan that would have exempted the fishery from a complete closure, at least for this season. This is just more bad news for Alaska's crab industry. The state's king crab harvest was cut 15% for the brief 2016 season, while Alaska's snow crab quota was cut 50% to 21.5 million pounds, which was the lowest harvest level seen in that fishery since the 1970s. The decision now completely tables an Alaskan crab fishery that had started to gain momentum in the U.S. market in the last few years, one that could have been worth $25 million this season given the overall shortage of crab in global markets. And that's just some of the top news from around the industry this week. So before we go, we mentioned at the top of our program that we had a special report from our friends at the National Fisheries Institute. Here's NFI Communications Manager Lindsay Fowler recapping last week's Global Seafood Market Conference from San Francisco.
Keeping up with all that goes on at GSMC takes focus, stamina, and the app. Or we can get you caught up with all the action in under a minute. Come on. Bob, how was the meeting?
I think it was a very productive meeting. It's a very important time in Washington.
Great, thank you. Brandon, how's the plenary session?
Fantastic. Dwayne Lynn's from Cattle Facts just wrapped up. He covered the protein.
That's great. Richard, how's the panel?
Oh, it's going great. Mark Palicki from Fortune Fishing's there. He's talking about European sea bass, whole plate preparation, very popular in New York. Turkey's been overproducing though, so it looks like we're going to get a glut on the market. Spain has stayed fairly even. Greece, controlled by the banks.
Well, here's someone who can fill us in. Judy, how was Michael Swanson's presentation?
I'll be right back.
Your estimated wait time is 90 minutes.
Or maybe just use the app.
And we'd like to say thanks to Lindsay, Bob, Brandon, Richard, Judy, and the rest of the NFI crew for a great conference. Today's show was brought to you by Urner Barry's Seafood Import Workshop Series. We are relaunching this popular compliance series here at Urner Barry's headquarters in Toms River, New Jersey on February 28th. This workshop will provide a full one-day training session from a panel of hand-picked industry experts. Sign up today by heading over to shop.urnerbarry.com or give us a call at 732-240-5330. Space is limited, so sign up while spots are still open. We look forward to seeing you all there. As always, tell us how we're doing on Twitter by tweeting at us at SeafoodComNews and at UB Seafood. And you can like Urner Barry and Seafood News on Facebook to learn more about what we're up to. For Urner Barry and Seafood News, I'm Michael Ramsing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next week.